Frogs lose. Frogs lose. 41-28 in the Little Apple. A win in Manhattan continues to elude us since 2017. And boy, howdy, are there a lot of tough things that we need to talk about on TCU Postgame Live tonight. I'm, of course, Clint Foster, host of Biggest 12 and TCU Postgame Live, unfortunately, here on Saturday nights. And before we get into any of this, which I hope y'all have your grieving caps on, because there's a lot to get into. First, I need a few things from you. First of all, please subscribe to the show. There you see it running across the bottom of the screen at TCU VOCFB and at Big 12 VOCFB, which we are so close to having 1,000 subscribers on the Big 12 channel. Come on, y'all. Help me. At least do that for me today. Help me make that happen. Get us to 1,000 subscribers on the Big 12 channel. And follow me on Twitter. There you see it right there at Clint_Foster55 and my personal YouTube channel at Clint Foster Creations. You can watch, remember, the Alamo Bowl, a much better memory of being a TCU football fan. And by the way, speaking of my Twitter, I do apologize for not live tweeting the game today. I was actually watching it delayed because I had to take my dog to the vet as soon as the game kicked off. So it's been an all around fantastic day for yours truly. But also make sure you're following the Voice of College Football at VOCFB on Twitter, on Instagram. Join into the national conversation and check out the Voice of College Football shop. Y'all have seen it plenty of times. VOCFB.com/shop. A lot of great merchandise there. Enter in the promo code Big 12 VOCFB. And you'll get a little discount there that you'd probably be interested in. You can get purple shirts. Not sure why you want to be walking around wearing purple, but you can get a purple shirt that says VOCFB on it. Go right ahead. Go ahead and buy one. Also, make sure, hey, maybe you're tuning into Jamie Plunkett's postgame show right now. Maybe you're tuning into Uninformed Frogs postgame show right now. You can get us where you find your podcasts, okay? So you can get all of the self-loathing that your heart can handle, right? So go on to Amazon, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're there. Make us part of your commute because Lord knows whenever something like this happens, I just want to fully inundate myself in it and just live in that sadness, right, for a while. Yeah, Comfy, this is awful. This is awful, and we're going to talk all about it. Okay, so as I was saying, look at the music. Frogs lose 41-28 in a game that was about as dismal as you could ever imagine. This is a team that is nowhere near on TCU's level talent-wise, has been horrible every time they've stepped onto the field. They lost to Army at home. They barely beat North Dakota at home. They, of course, lost to Iowa State, to Colorado. This is not a good Kansas State team. That is also down several playmakers. Dylan Edwards was, again, not going to play today, missing other key pieces of that team, and the Frogs had absolutely no answer for them. And specifically, this is on the offense. I mean, the defense, there's not a whole lot bad you can say about the defense, right? I mean, it wasn't a perfect game from the defense, but the story of the game, 17 points off turnovers. Guess how much you end up losing by, right? You end up losing by, 48, 20. So what is that? 21 points? No, hold on. 9, 10, 11. 13. That's not right. I don't know what I'm talking about. 17 points off of turnovers isn't good. Okay, my brain's not here today. Terrible in every sense of the word. 2 of those came off of Josh Hoover interceptions. Another one off of a fumble that was a backwards pass that was incomplete. You can't win games giving up 3 scores on turnovers. You can't. You just can't do that. And that's really what leads us to the main sticking point of the game. Hoover played arguably the worst game of his career. Josh Hoover was 26 of 47, 3 touchdowns, sure, 2 interceptions, and that fumble, which he, I don't know if statistically he did get credit for it, but he should get credit for it. Horrible game. He was occasionally on target, but he was frequently off target. Could have had a lot more. Thank you, math. Lost by 13. Okay. Because of that late touchdown by Eric McAllister, which we'll get to in a second. We were down by 17 for the longest time, right? And then that late touchdown changed it. I think that's what confused me, as I'd already tuned out by the time Eric McAllister scored that last touchdown. But, it for the most of the game, it was essentially you gave up 17 points on turnovers, you lose by 17, right? And then you have a late touchdown. Yeah, SMU was terrible as well. You are correct. That may have been Josh Hoover's worst performance. But this is certainly the worst one this year. Certainly the worst one this year. Really, really off target on a lot of throws that could have been interceptions as well. And, some of the play calling was puzzling, specifically the way that we completely failed to utilize the two best players on our offense. We've talked about on this show, on the Big 12 on Tuesday nights, how this TCU team is a completely different team with Kavorian Barnes and Eric McAllister on the field. Well, they were on the field tonight, and Kavorian Barnes had himself a first half. He had a great first half, rushing for, so total, he had 12 carries for 81 yards total on the day. Only 12, okay? I'll count on Loot Runner to be my math guy to give me what the average yards per carry is on that. But according to Jamie Plunkett on Twitter, Kavorian Barnes' last run of the day came with 10:28 remaining in the third quarter. He had 3 runs after halftime. What the hell are we doing? Right? The offensive line was actually serviceable today. I mean, they weren't perfect, but they played an okay game. And this is a very beatable front seven from Kansas State. Kavorian Barnes was absolutely eating, and you just completely abandon the run game going into that second half. I do not understand it. And Eric McAllister, it took you all game to eventually start throwing him the ball, right? And then late in the game, you see Eric McAllister getting those garbage time scores. His line on the day, let me get it pulled back up again. 4 receptions, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns. 156 and 2 touchdowns on 4 receptions. What the hell are we doing, y'all? What are we doing? Right? I mean, yes, Ed Small had a great game. Chase Curtis had a solid game. But you got to use your playmakers. What is and I don't know if this is a Josh Hoover issue. I mean, certainly, and this is the other thing that's hard to say. It's hard to just be like, oh, this is all Kendall Briles' fault, because a lot of TCU's offense is RPO based. So, it's hard to say, well, is this a situation where Hoover's checking out of the runs? He's pulling the handoffs, like whatever it is. Yeah. Thanks, Loot Runner. 6.8 yards a carry. You got to keep giving it to your workhorse. I mean, come on. What in blue blazes? It's horrible. Horrible game. Horrible game in every sense of the word. Yes, Comfy Rambles. Hoover was outplayed by Avery Johnson. That is a problem. Yeah. There you go. You said it right there. I'm getting so sick of getting hyped up about this team and this program and knowing that we are as talented or more talented than every single team we step onto the field with, and laying absolute eggs like you saw today. Absolute eggs. Yeah, Loot Runner, you're right. Again, whether it's on Briles, whether it's on Hoover, if they're giving you the run, you got to run the football. Listen, I'm a middle school offensive coordinator, okay? They don't pay me the big bucks, but you take what a defense gives you, right? And if something's working, you keep doing it. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Comfy Ramble. This is the hard conversation that we're going to get to is about this coaching staff. Yeah, and yeah, my mom is correct. We had a lot of so Hoover was not all that bad in the early part of the game. The first half, you had a lot of drop passes, some demand jack when it's like, hey, not wearing gloves is all fine and good as long as you're catching the ball, man. But he's just couldn't buy a catch for that first half. And then he goes out with an ankle injury. Ed Small, he's a freshman, so some of the drops are a little bit more excusable for him, especially when he had a very solid game overall and could have had, Sports Center top 10 touchdown catch if he's in bounds, but of course he's out of bounds. But man alive, I mean, just not a lot of mental fortitude, not a lot of focus that you're hoping to see from a team like this. Yeah, Loot Runner, yes. The defense, this is very similar to what happened at Arizona State. Defense played a very good game. I stand by my opinion that this is the best defense that Sonny Dykes has had. I truly believe that. but they keep getting put in horrible situations. Keep having to play long drives when the offense goes 3 and out. I mean, listen, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. A lot of y'all remember 2013, TCU 2013. That defense is one of the most underrated defenses of all time. It was an outstanding defense for 2013. But we lost games because the offense couldn't sustain drives. You keep putting the defense out on the field, putting them in bad situations, and eventually the defense is going to give up scores. I mean, you can't put the entire weight of the game on your defense. And defense, frankly, did enough to win this game, but the offense completely gave it away. And it wasn't even on the offensive line, right? I mean, we were talking about last week and the week before. I mean, hey, we might not win another game because of this offensive line. It wasn't even on the offensive line. The offensive line played fine. They were completely fine in this game. It was Hoover. It was the play calling. It was the turnovers. It was refusing to put your playmakers in position to succeed. And yeah, Joe, this is when we got to start asking these questions. Okay. Hey, before I do this though, and hey, I want to draw y'all's attention. We've got call-in links in the chat here. That StreamYard link, you just put that into your browser and you'll be able to call in and get whatever it is that you got on your chest off your chest. Because Lord knows we all got a lot to work through here. But before we move on to that, here's a quick word about Voice of College Football Bets.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
So before we get into the hard conversation about where we go from here, I want to read y'all some more stats and then some quotes that stood out to me from the post game. As a team, TCU continues to, well, let's be honest, not rush effectively enough, but it's because we don't trust the run. 22 carries for 72 yards as a team, 72 rushing yards. I don't even know what to say to that. And of course, 12 carries for Kavorian Barnes for 81 yards, 6.8 yards per carry, 6.8. Use him. He's right there in your backfield. He's healthy. Use him. Of course, I told you, Josh Hoover, 26 of 47, 376 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He does break Max Nocky's. He moves past Max Nocky on the all-time completions list. But in a game like this, who the hell cares? I mean, honestly, right? Who cares? And then your receivers, Ed Small, of course, with the big day, 6 catches, 101 yards. Eric McAllister, like we said, 4 catches, 156, 2 touchdowns. And Chase Curtis, 4 catches, 27 yards, 1 touchdown. I mean, you do the one thing this team has consistently done effectively, it's spread the ball around. Altogether, you have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players catch a pass. Only 2 to Jordan Dwyer, by the way, for what that's worth. So that's nice, but that's not enough to win you ball games. Right. And you give up, again, 17 points on turnovers. 2 of those are interceptions, or, well, you have a pick 6 and you have a scoop and score. So 14 points directly off of turnovers and then a field goal as well. Yeah. Rotate the freaking backs. Okay. So Austin. Okay. Here we go. Sports Talk with Austin. You are on the show, man. What do you have to say?
Howdy, Clint.
Hey, Austin. Hey, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. So, sorry about the TCU loss, man. I know it sucks, But I will say this on the bright side for you guys, though. Y'all had
Okay.
some nice plays tonight, but I feel like Kansas State's one of them teams, Clint. They're a good coach team that I think just had some bad luck this year.
Mhm.
They kind of got hit with the injury bug. Dylan Edwards, after he got hurt in Ireland, wasn't healthy. I kind of feel like this Kansas State team's better than a lot of people give them credit for. I kind of had a funny feeling going into this week that Kansas State could win this game. And they did. And it just seems like if they were healthy, I feel like they would be right there with TCU and Iowa State and these other teams. They would be competing for the Big 12 right now if they got hit with the injuries.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly a fair point, Austin. Yeah, I do think there's a case to be made that they're better than their record because they were in a lot of games that they lost, and they are a very well coached team. I don't know that you can necessarily say the same about TCU. And
Mm-hmm.
the bottom line is
Mm-hmm.
that this is a team that you should have beaten and a game that you should have won. And you not only did they didn't sneak one by you, you know, you were completely the team TCU looked completely unprepared to play this game. And they faced
Mm-hmm.
adversity and they did not handle it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's inexcusable. It's frankly inexcusable.
And that's the thing, too. Like, I noticed tonight, they made a lot of mental errors. And, against these lesser teams, they've gotten away with it. But when you play these better teams that on paper, like you said, they should have won this game, right? There's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for these mental errors. But it just seems like, Clint, it's a theme with TCU. When you think they're going to do something, they do the opposite of it. Like, we finally are thinking, oh, TCU might actually get back to where we think they are. And then they do stuff like this to make you go, what was that?
Yep.
Like, it's like a cycle, so to speak.
Could not have said it better myself. Could not have said it better myself. And Austin, if I could get anything else that you wanted to throw out there, because I feel like that's a perfect segue into what I was going to talk about next.
No, I don't have anything else I want to throw out there.
Okay. Well, hey, I appreciate you calling in. So here we go. Time to have this uncomfortable conversation, right? Where do we go from here? I mean, is the season over? No. But we need to have, we're in the same place that we were last year, right? Where we need to have a conversation about this coaching staff. Is this coaching staff capable of building a winner at TCU? Okay. Talent acquisition is not the problem. Good players are on this roster. We're recruiting at an extremely high level, arguably at a higher level than we've ever recruited. But the mental fortitude is not there. The chip on the shoulder is not there. The mental toughness and the tenacity is not there. A lot of y'all out there in the TCU world, and I've said it in conversations myself, have asked that question. Well, hey, 2022, Sonny Dykes was the perfect guy to come in to 2022 because he allowed players to play loose. He encouraged players to have fun. He opens up the offense. But what do we always say? Those were Gary Patterson's players, right? They were in Gary Patterson's system. They developed that discipline under Gary Patterson. They developed that toughness under Gary Patterson. They were recruited because they had that chip on their shoulder. They had something to prove. Sonny Dykes unleashes them, and then you have the magic that is 2022. Since then, we have not seen that. We've not seen that team that has that mental toughness about them. And we are in year 4, and you do not need to be having as many uncharacteristic performances, dropping games you shouldn't drop. We should have beaten Arizona State, folks. I haven't forgotten about that. You're up 17-0 in that game, and you cannot finish. This is a game where you get out. Not only do you get off to a bad start, but you continue to make mental mistakes. You cannot finish. The TCU that many of us remember, that I grew up with, does not exist anymore. It doesn't. Okay? And it's great that we have all of these beautiful facilities and resources and this, that, and the other thing. But if you don't put in the effort, if you don't have a team that wants it, then none of it matters. Football is 98% wanting it more than the other guy and effort, right? That is what made those Gary Patterson TCU teams so phenomenal, so great. They had something to prove, right? They had their why. What is this team's why? What is this team's identity? What is this program's identity under Sonny Dykes other than failing to meet expectations? I'm being very harsh right now, and I've had very good interactions with a lot of members of the program right now. But TCU has a standard to meet, and it's okay. You hear from a lot of old heads, oh, well, things were really bad when I was in school, but they don't have to be that way anymore. This is a different TCU. We have a higher standard to meet, and we are consistently not meeting it under this new coaching staff. And something has to change. Something has to be done about that. Y'all are chatting, and I'm on a roll, sir. I got to see what I missed. Okay, yeah, it was a hard game to watch. Yeah, you don't control your own destiny anymore, Loot Runner. You're right. You need help to get in the Big 12 championship. But is this team even deserving of being in the Big 12 championship? I don't think so. At this point, not playing the way they've played on the road. Not at all. Well, you say that, but I think with the offensive line, they played well today, right? But to me, the offensive line for these last 3 years, this year included, after that 22 season, it's been less of an issue of X's and O's and more of an issue of Jimmy's and Joe's, right? You're putting all this NIL money and effort into recruiting top-level receiver talent and skill position talent, but you're not investing in the trenches where you need to win, right? Those great TCU teams of the 2010s were chock full of NFL talent, right? And a lot of those guys became NFL talent because they wanted it, because they had that chip on their shoulder. But where's the NFL talent on the last 3 years of TCU offensive lines? We're not investing enough into that position group. I think that's the issue there, more so than coaching. Yeah, okay, here we are again, right? We were here last year, midway through the season. We ramble off. What was that? We won 5 of our last 6 or 6 of our last 7 or whatever the heck it was. And then he's off the hot seat. We beat a bad Louisiana Lafayette team in the New Mexico Bowl. And I think that the coaching staff does deserve a lot of credit for the way that TCU finished last season, but also look at who we played, right? The only team worth a dang at the end, the last stretch of that season was Baylor, and we lost by 3 points. I'm not one who revels in calling for people's jobs and saying bad things about TCU. Like, that's not me, but it's like, yeah. And I'm not sitting here saying that anyone in particular needs to be fired, but I'm saying we need to have tough conversations, and we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and figure out what needs to change, because something needs to change. Well, GJ Kenny's appealing, but Oklahoma State's going to get to him first. I can promise you that. Yeah, and this is the thing. Sonny might be a good 8-9 win coach, which would be fine if this was 1998. I would be ecstatic if this was 1998, 99. Oh, my God, we're winning 8-9 games. We're getting to bowl games. But that's not the standard anymore. This is a program that earned its way into the Big 12, winning Rose Bowls, that should have had the opportunity to play for national championship in 2014, was the best team in the country in 2014. Murdered Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl. You saw what happened in 2015 with his team. This program faced adversity in 2015, had injuries upon injuries upon injuries, and still managed to put themselves in position to compete for the Big 12 and win an insane comeback victory against Oregon. This program has a higher standard than what it is being held to in the last 3 years. That's the whole reason that Gary Patterson lost his job. Right? Because he set a standard that the program wasn't living up to anymore. And a lot of that stuff was out of his control, right? You had injuries to quarterbacks that derailed seasons. You had the COVID year, and then there's also the changing nature of college football and NIL. And it just was, it put coaches like Gary Patterson, Nick Saban, old school coaches in a tough position. It's a different world out there, but you got to meet the expectations. The whole reason Sonny Dykes took this job is because he understood that TCU is a sleeping giant in the DFW Metroplex. We have all the resources in the world. We have the option to get any recruit we want to get. Okay, so you've got it. You've got all the resources. Now it's time to win, and you're not doing it. You're not delivering the results that this program, this fan base, this city deserves. You're not doing it. I don't know. Well, and you ask a good question, Mom. Are these players invested in TCU these days or just worried about the NFL or the transfer portal? I mean, most of them seem to be. I mean, Josh Hoover turned down, what was it, like $3 million to go to Tennessee? I mean, and he seems like a great kid. Bud Clark, he came back. These kids seem to be invested in TCU. It's just they don't seem to have the discipline and the mental toughness to close out games, right? To do what you need to do to win. Yes, and I agree with you. Avalos does deserve major credit. The defense is not the issue, but the team as a whole, the discipline's not there. The edge is not there. The physicality on offense is not there. It hasn't been there since 2022. I don't know. I don't know about that, Lee Runner. I mean, listen, I love Gary Patterson. I worked under Gary Patterson for 4 years. He's the greatest coach in TCU history, but I don't know if Gary Patterson is the, like Bill Snyder, you can bring him back. And I don't know. I don't know that this era is built for a Gary Patterson, because kids, I don't think, respond to that type of coaching anymore. Which is unfortunate, but at any rate, you got to find a way to get that sort of buy-in from kids in this day and age and make them into something special. Okay, Tommy, so you disagree. We don't. Well, I mean, we should. We got a lot of great talent in our very own backyard, right? Yeah, and Tech has a lot of money, but so do we. With revenue sharing, we've got a lot of money too. I mean, my point is, talent acquisition has not been the problem. I think you're maybe missing what I'm saying. We have gotten good, talented kids, offensive line accepted. Okay. Eric McAllister is insanely talented. Gavorian Barnes is insanely talented. The list goes on. Bud Clark is insanely talented, but you're not getting the most out of these players, right? Talent acquisition isn't the problem, in my opinion. It's, can you get these guys to find that chip on their shoulder? Right. And where do we go from here? I don't know. It's, you look at the schedule and it's troubling, right? Baylor has had a lot of struggles this year too. My heart says that we can beat Baylor at home, but it's anything but a gimme. It's a rivalry game, right? And Sawyer Robertson's a dang good quarterback. The silver lining is their defense has struggled a lot, whereas ours has not. So I like us to win that game. But then you go to West Virginia, and West Virginia is not a good team, but we have not played good in Morgantown historically. That's not a gimme. Any game on the road for this team is apparently not a gimme, right? BYU, you really worry about that game. Iowa State feels within reach just because they've had so many injury issues themselves. But Houston's not a gimme. Cincinnati's not a gimme. Is this a 5-7 team? I don't know. Comfy Rambles in the house. Comfy, let me put you on the screen here. How are you doing, friend?
It's pretty awful.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to be saying this after the SMU game, and I hate saying it, but I think Sonny might have to be on the hot seat right now. If we have to be. Avalos did great overall. I didn't think I was going to say, like at the start of this year, that the defense was the bright spot at this point of the season, but the offense was actually awful. Like legitimately terrible. They actually played well when the defense got tired because they decided to wait into the fourth quarter to play even decent offense. They decided in the first half, they hold K-State to one offensive touchdown.
Yeah,
the defense, and then the offense decides to turn to Mr. Beast and then give away 2 touchdowns to the Kansas State defense. I just think TCU got outcoached. They got the quarterback Avery Johnson, out of all people, outplayed Josh Hoover.
Yeah.
I still think Hoover's a very talented quarterback. But you cannot play like that in a game like this, where apparently TCU can't play well on the road either. They decide to only play good on at home, and then play their worst ball in Manhattan for some reason. Manhattan's a hard place to play, but they could play better at Oklahoma State. They play better at Waco, even though the Baylor fans don't show up to those games. But still, it's not a super easy place to play when Baylor's good. They play better in Morgantown somehow than they play in Manhattan. And West Virginia doesn't look good this year. But I am not confident that they're going to be able to beat that team in Morgantown right now. Because the defense might be able to stop whoever West Virginia trots out there at quarterback. But the offense won't be able to score on anybody if they play like that. This was just awful in every aspect, every level. This was terrible. The O-line, out of all places, was the most consistent on the offense, which is unbelievable. Josh Hoover,
don't forget Kavorian Barnes.
He's your most effective player on offense, and you only run him, 12 times? Was it like something like that? It was something absurd. He gets 6 yards per carry, and they only run him 12 times. And I get it when you're down like by 17 points, you don't really want to run it as much. But when you're still in the game and it's still within a touchdown or 2 touchdowns and you don't run it when that's your most effective player is insane. That's a complete malpractice by Kendall Briles. You don't pass it to your best receiver and Eric McAllister at all until it's too late in the game. Hoover's Heisman hopes might be dead at this point. You can't play like that and expect to get any buzz.
They died at Tempe. They died in Tempe. That ship has sailed.
But yeah, this was in every level. I think the worst game TCU has played since Houston last year. This might be the worst game they played because at least in Tempe, the offense somewhat showed up early in the game. They were up 17-0, and then they decided, no, we don't want to play football anymore. And then they decided to let Arizona State come back. But Kansas State might have figured out somewhat of a football team, and it happened to be against TCU. Sucks, but I still believe this team can make at least a bowl game, but it might be the Pinstripe Bowl versus Rutgers or New Mexico Bowl where they could battle for a clay pot. But it clearly won't be for a Big 12 championship, which is not what I was thinking after the first 3 weeks this season.
Yeah. You said it all, Cumpy. You really did. You said it all. And Tommy Fisher, he shrinks at the biggest moments. Hate to say that. Hoover's struggles appear very clear to me in this game in Arizona State. He's trying to press, right? He's not letting the game come to him. He's trying to win the game on 1 play, on 2 plays. Okay. And that's an issue. That's a situation where Kendall Briles has to be like, hey, man, take a deep breath. All right. Run the plays as called, and it's going to be okay. You have weapons. Okay. You don't have to win this game by yourself. But the lack of giving it to Kavorian Barnes is just so maddening. Comfy, you brought it up. And I mean, and it's also like, yes, we were down by 17, but it's not like you're making an attempt to save time, right? You're still running swing passes and other underneath routes. Just run the dadgum ball. Like you were getting 10 yards a pop on a lot of those runs. I mean, do what works, right? You don't try and think your way out of a paper bag. And yeah, if we go 5-7, we better have new coaches. I mean, because that will be 2 times in 3 years that you miss a bowl game after making it to the national championship game. Yeah, I mean, we're not there yet, right? But things are not looking good. I do want to read a couple of quotes from the end of the game. So this is all stuff from Steven Johnson's Twitter. I mean, surely y'all follow Steven Johnson on Twitter. You ought to be if you're not. He said, Josh Hoover with an intense and heartfelt speech in the locker room. Couldn't hear everything, but Hoover said the defense played their tail off, which is true. And he didn't do enough to help them win, which is also true. Said he still has full faith in himself, his wideouts, and the guys up front. He's putting pressure on himself to lead and to play better. Listen, Josh Hoover, everything I've read and seen about Josh Hoover, he appears to be a great leader on the team, exactly what you want out of your quarterback as far as leadership. But I think the problem is in that last sentence there. He's putting pressure on himself to lead and play better. And like in an essence, that's good. But I think that he's pressing too hard. I think he's putting too much pressure on himself and trying to force things that aren't there. You see him a lot of times late in games staring down the same receiver, right? It's not the sort of thing that an experienced quarterback does, right? Read your keys. Let the game come to you. And ideally, yeah, Tommy, we had no reason to run some of those screen passes. Yeah, yes. We got to be putting him in position to succeed. Okay, a couple of quotes from Sonny Dykes that I bookmarked. Sonny Dykes opens the presser acknowledging it was a bad performance. He called it a disaster. Yeah, I would say so. That was a disaster. And it's concerning to me when you're watching the broadcast of this game, and late in that game, as the wheels are coming off, it goes over to Sonny Dykes. You see lots of shots of Sonny Dykes. He appears to be standing off away from the rest of the team. And, he's doing the things that I'm doing as a fan, right? He's rubbing his face and he's like, oh my God, what the hell? And it's just like, you don't need that from your head coach, right? Your head coach needs to be the steadying influence, right? He needs to be solid as a rock. If he's showing emotion, it needs to be emotion that is encouraging his players to do the correct thing, not being defeatist, for lack of a better word, right? It's okay for your coach to show emotion. Lord knows Gary Patterson showed emotion, right? But it needs to be constructive emotion that's going to move your team in the direction that they need to go, not emotion that it's like, shoot, guys, man, we just don't have it today. I don't know what's going on, right? It's like it's like all of those post-game press conferences last year where we saw Sonny Dykes being like, I don't know, that was crazy. I'm just as confused as you are. I don't know why we played so bad. Bro, this is your job. You gotta know. You gotta get guys in position to succeed. Oh my God. So another quote from him. Okay, Dykes said he actually thought the offensive line played well for most of the game. Yes, I agree. Unit still needs to clean up some penalties, but overall, I thought they played well. I agree, right? There was a couple of times in pass protection where they could have been better, but, no offensive line is going to be perfect every single time. When we're playing without one of our starting tackles, especially, I thought it was a very great game from the offensive line. Shoot, we ran the ball well when we decided to run it. Dykes said it took too long to get the best players involved. Well, brother, I don't want to be too snarky, but whose fault is that, man? If you are the head coach, and I know Sonny Dykes is a very CEO style head coach, and that's really the style of head coach of the future. But it's like, if it's the third quarter and it's like, hey, we've had 2 drives here and Kavorian Barnes has not touched the ball, and Eric McAllister has had like 1 pass thrown to him all game. That's a situation where you are within your authority as head coach to go over to Kendall Browse and be like, hey, man, let's get our playmakers involved, right? I'm not sitting here acting like I'm on the same level coaching wise as them, but I'm a middle school offensive coordinator. If my head coach came to me and said, hey, your best player hasn't touched the ball in a while, why don't you do something about that? I'd be like, shoot, you know what? You're right. Let me adjust. Maybe that has slipped my mind. Let me do something to correct that, right? I have the benefit of having an older coach for most games who's been looking over my shoulder and reminding me like, hey, such and such is working. Keep doing that. And, I look back at him and I'm like, hey, should I do this here? Like, well, no, keep doing this because they're showing this on defense, right? Sometimes I think that as coaches, it feels absurd me putting myself in the same stratosphere, but like as coaches, sometimes we try to outthink ourselves, and it's like at its heart, this is really not that complicated of a game, right? And if something's working, you roll with it, right? And if you have players that are head and shoulders above other guys on the field, well, you get the ball to them, right? That's what you do. Man. Not a lot of good things to say. Oh, here's somebody has I don't know how I was tagged. Oh, okay. So Andy Swain. Andy, I hope you're watching right now, but I appreciate you responding to my tweet about the show. I'm going to share it on the show, make sure everybody hears it. Stats of War would say, so shout out to Parker Fleming. Stats of War would say TCU is severely lacking in the key stat. Hating ass. Yes. Another key stat, protect the damn ball. Yes. This is not the hating ass TCU Horned Frogs that we grew up with. They have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove. This is something different. This is a team that has a snow room and a human car wash and every luxury that could be afforded to mankind. And is that what's made them soft? I'm not going to sit here and say definitely, but that chip on the shoulder's missing. And we got to either find a way to get that back or at least find a way to replicate the results. Comfy. Yeah, I'm not going to read that, but yeah, we all know. I'm sure there were several great practices this week. Let's see if I've missed anything else on Twitter. So yeah, and the Big 12 is eating itself, right? Iowa State just lost another game. Yeah, not what we were hoping for out of this season. I mean, if the Big 12 continues to self-immolate and cannibalize itself for the rest of the season, I mean, sure, there's a world where we can get to Arlington and play Texas Tech, but hell, is the way we're playing, I don't know that I want this team to play Texas Tech. Be completely honest with you. They certainly don't look like they deserve it. So that's about all I got to say about this game. It was a longer post game than usual because we had some feelings to work through, but there you have it. Frogs lose 41-28. Second loss of the year, fall to 4-2 on the season. And things are not looking great. The future is not bright. Okay, there you go, Cuppy. Yeah. Silver lining. We are not Penn State. We are not Penn State. Yeah, that's good. Could always be worse, I guess. But, hey, at least Penn State probably has some change on the horizon. It's tough to be stuck in a state of mediocrity where there doesn't appear to be a lot of hope for change, right? Because when you're just good enough to keep coasting along, I mean, this is the world that the Cowboys have been in for much of the last 30 years. Just mediocre. And that's not a fun place to be. And that's not a place that TCU should be comfortable being, if I'm completely honest. Thanks so much for making us a part of your Saturday evening here. Hopefully next week we'll have a blue bonnet battle shield to talk about winning. Right, rivalry, victory. But it's going to be a tough week until then. A lot of self-evaluation. Make sure you subscribe to the show at Big 12 VOCFB. Please subscribe there, please. I'm begging you. And TCU VOCFB. Follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55 and my personal YouTube channel at Clint Foster Creations. Go watch Remember the Alamo Bowl tonight if you haven't, or if you have, watch it again. Make yourself feel better about being a TCU fan. And follow Voice of College Football on Twitter, Instagram, and download us wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you check out the Novig app. Use promo code VOCFB Big 12 to get a nice little promotion there. Novig, a great place to do your parlays and do your sports betting as long as you are 21 years old or older. And if you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. So, yeah, that's it for tonight. Hopefully we get better. Hopefully we learn from it. Till then, I love you. And go Frogs. We'll see you around, folks. See you on Tuesday night.